no helicopters have been procured for me to go to golf course. Thank you.
I never said he wasn't a great politician. I'm just saying he's a officer.
It's supposed to be an interview.
How'd you play out there today?
Well, I found the conditions challenging, mostly because there's no grass on the golf course, but there never has been.
I'm thinking about the swag bag, and I had high hopes for the swag bag.
When you got 3 crevices on the green, your course is trash.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Beltway Golfer, episode 23. Alex Dixon here. This will be the last pod of 2020. So 23 episodes in 2020. We started, this is our first year, started in early June. Our very first podcast with Mike McCartan was, I think, the second week of June. So about 6.5 months, 7 months, 23 episodes. It's been a ton of fun. Learned a lot about putting something like this together. Definitely more work than was anticipated, but in a good way. And had tons of fun getting to know better some people in the local golf scene that wanted to get to know better, and met some folks that I wasn't familiar with beforehand. And we now have a laundry list of people that we're hoping to have on the podcast for 2021 and beyond, and excited to bring those conversations and stories and highlights of courses to the show. So wrapping up this year, episode 23, we headed out to Lake Presidential in Upper Marlboro, where really our motivation was that we saw the course was up for sale. It went up for sale in September-ish timeframe. Might have that month wrong, but at a price that I think a lot of folks in the DC golf scene saw and said, kind of raised their eyebrows, like, wow, less than $2 million for a golf course, 20, 30 minutes outside of DC, that's always ranked in the best of lists for courses you can play in the state of Maryland. Great layout, lots of unique features. Opened up in 2008, and has been a great track ever since, for the most part. I say for the most part. We talked about, certainly in the first segment of our conversation here, in 2016, Lake Presidential had a rough go of it when it came to conditions. There was just a summer there where they really lost the course, and it affected their reputation a little bit in the local DC golf scene. We talk about a lot in this conversation, but as the second gentleman we speak to, Donnie Ernakovic, puts it very pointedly, the apology tour is over for Lake Presidential, kind of apologizing for that year, because it was 4 years ago, and the course is in phenomenal shape now, and has been for a couple years. So we were excited to go out and have some conversations around Lake Presidential. We were motivated by the sale of the property. We didn't get a ton of information about that. Understandably, I think there's some bids in, but where that all stands is in the hands of the developer who owns the property, the brokers, and whomever is putting in the bid. So not a lot of information on that front. However, what we found is we sat down with 3 gentlemen: Shawn, Gill, the head superintendent, Donnie Ernakovic, who, while not on his title, maybe not on his nameplate, is essentially the acting general manager, and Mike Chiadis, who, he didn't say this, but it seems to me is the de facto assistant GM. He's running a lot of the pro shop operations, and both Donnie and Mike, and really everyone there right now, is wearing a lot of hats, as there's some uncertainty with the sale of the property going forward, and it's been such a busy year, as it has been with every golf course in 2020. But what we found in those 3 conversations were 3 gentlemen who take a lot of pride in what they're doing, take a lot of pride in where Lake Presidential is right now, which is still one of the best public courses in the state of Maryland, that has made a comeback from that kind of slip in conditions that was 4 years ago, back to the primo shape that it was known for prior. And they wanted to come on and despite the uncertainty of the sale of the course that will likely happen in early 2021, to make sure that everybody is well aware that Lake Presidential is in dynamite shape and is still a dynamite course that every golfer in the area should be playing at least once a year. So we enjoyed it. That's essentially it. So we had 3 conversations, sat down with each of them one-on-one, in part because I need to upgrade my equipment so I can interview more than one person at a time. But that's on the list of things to do for 2021 as well. And then before I get to it, I'm rocking a couple pieces of new BG gear. I got the Tee Time 630 hat, a little homage to everybody's favorite music venue in DC, and our this is kind of our golfing president's shirt, a little nod to the racing presidents at Nats Park. And we're all missing Nats games. Excited to get back to Nats Park and watch the team and Teddy, George, Tom, and Abe race around center field in the 4th inning. But those are both up for sale in beltwaygolfer.com/shop at the Swamp. So check that out. But that's it. Let's get to the show. Episode 23, Lake Presidential, Shawn, Gill, Donnie Ernakovic, and Mike Chiadis. Enjoy. All right, we are out here in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, PG County, at Lake Presidential Golf Club. And I'm with Shawn Gill. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
What is your title here at Lake Presidential?
I am the golf course superintendent. I'm the guy who keeps golf green, if you like. So,
you know, that should be a bumper sticker. I'm the guy that keeps golf green. I like that. So we were just chatting before we taped. You started at Lake Presidential when?
I started in August of 2016, the hottest summer on record.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
By more than a degree. So things were pretty rough back then.
Okay.
And I kind of was brought over to turn things around and start getting the reputation back to where it was.
Sure.
When the golf course first opened.
So we'll get into that. Let's hear a little bit about what's your your history and background as a superintendent. How long have you been a superintendent?
Been a superintendent for 22 years.
Oh,
Been
wow,
in the golf maintenance for 32 years. Got a degree in criminal justice, and here I am growing grass for a living. So I just fell in love with the game when I was in college, and so things just sort of morphed and changed. And I worked in the industry while I was in college, and so when I got out, it just seemed like a natural gig to go into. Completely different from anything I'd done before, but I've just always been an outdoors person. And
you were looking at those law school applications, and you decided
that's kind of it. I was thinking 3 more years of school. I'm not sure that's my thing. So
are you a native of this area, or?
I am not. I'm actually from the Northeast. I'm from Connecticut originally.
Got it.
Came down here because my wife is from this area.
Right on.
The first summer here, I told her we're heading back up north. I don't know why anybody would want to be down in this sticky area all summer, but I've learned to love it.
In the swamp.
Yeah, and it's got a much longer golf season, so that's good.
So you came here in 2016. You mentioned to me earlier that you were at the time an employee of Billy Casper. Did you come over from other Billy Casper courses?
I did. I was over Prince William Golf Course, which is out in Oaksville, Virginia.
Sure, yeah.
Prior to that, I was at another course that Casper managed, not at the time, but Prince William County course called General's Ridge, which is now closed,
that was a unique
but it
course.
was a unique, I would say, awesome golf course, but tough to maintain as a public track because it was just so hard. So.
That was definitely a love it or hate it kind of
Very
design.
much so. So we had a few people who loved it, but not enough because they used to say it was the most inexpensive golf course you could play because you lose $45 worth of golf balls and pay $45 to play it, and so it was a $90 round. So.
Oh my God, what was that? The one I think it was like maybe number 7, the straight downhill par 5.
That was number 4.
Number 4.
In fact, we had one of our holes was ranked the toughest hole in the DC metro area one year by there was a local.
Maybe it was like number 16 or something like that. It was like double ravine.
16, yeah. So.
That was I missed that course. Interesting. So you came to Lake Presidential in 2016. So I think a lot of folks know. I think this is kind of what a lot of folks want to hear about. Tell us about the shape that Lake Presidential was in when you came here in 2016.
It was rough. I mean, a lot of turf had been lost that year, predominantly on fairways. You're growing cool season turf grasses, which is, I mean, this type of grass prefers nighttime temperatures in the 50s and daytime temperatures in the 70s. So when you start getting...
What is the grass here?
This is creeping bent grass.
Okay.
So it's native to areas much further north than this. I mean, all the seed is grown out in Oregon where you don't see 90 degrees, or you certainly don't see with any humidity. So
that's everywhere? That's tees and fairways and greens?
That's tees, greens, and fairways.
Okay.
So with the greens, you have a little bit more control because they're built on sand, so you can dry them out easier. When you get a hot, wet summer on the fairway turf out here is grown on clay, which retains moisture when it gets too wet, repels the moisture when it gets too dry. It's a really poor growing medium. So it takes a lot of cultural practices, making sure you're making regular aerification holes.
Is that specific type of bent grass used at a lot of golf courses here, or is it kind of unusual that it was used here at Lake Presidential?
No, it's used. It's probably the most popular type of turf grass for this area.
Okay.
Fairways, a little less so than greens and tees because of the difficulty to grow on native soil. But because it's got a very long growing season and it can tolerate the heat if you're not getting too much rain, if you can control the moisture, it can tolerate the heat. It has the longest season for really good play. Like,
gotcha.
You know, I mean, a lot more of the golf courses are now growing Bermuda grass.
Yeah.
But from a golfer standpoint, I'm a golfer. That's why I got into this business, because I love golf.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing better than your first round in the spring when everything is firm and fast, and you get that with bent grass. With Bermuda grass, it's still brown, it's kind of squishy and spongy in the spring when you're ready to get back out there.
So what was your diagnosis of what was going on? Why was the course kind of in such
really,
bad shape?
You know, the cultural practices had fallen a little bit by the wayside, and that's by nobody's real fault. It really had to do somewhat with money. I mean, it takes a lot of money to go out with equipment and poke the holes that you have to in the fairways and get the airflow going into fairways. Mm-hmm. And that was probably the biggest thing. That, along with this soil, is natively very low in pH, which to most people that's not going to mean much, but what it really means is very little nutrient mobility.
Okay.
So you can throw down all kinds of fertilizer. That fertilizer never actually gets to the plant. All right,
so this was summer of 2016.
Correct.
And that's when you start to go to work.
Started in August, and it was in free fall at that time. We just had several 100-degree days. It stayed hot all the way through middle of September, I think. So it was really not until about October where we really started our plan.
What does that plan even look like? I mean, I can't imagine. I'm not a grass guy. I'm not a turf guy. But you come in, you see fairways that are beat up. You know, drainage, is bad. Grass isn't growing. Is this it's a plan of just applying the right mixture of chemicals and this, like what is?
Yeah, really, it's modifying the soil. So the first thing we're doing is we're throwing down a whole lot of lime, which is going to bring the pH up. It's going to create a healthier growing condition for the root zone. Mm-hmm. Then it's just aerifying and seeding. For the whole next season, we had to keep carts on the cart paths.
Throughout 2017?
Throughout 2017.
Okay.
So you think about it this way, you were almost rebuilding the golf course.
Yep.
But we were rebuilding it while we were keeping it open. So you're trying to still get people out there to play, but you're limiting how they can play it. So, I mean, it was really unplayable for a while through most of 2017 as we grew it back in.
How was that? I'm curious. How was that as leading as a head superintendent leading that effort? One of the things a lot of folks know is during that time, when course conditions are rough, I'm sure somebody here heard a lot about it from the people playing. Either people were upset that the conditions are here, or it's cart path only. As the superintendent, do you hear a lot of that?
I do, and because I spent so many hours on the course, and I would encounter golfers, and I would actually interact with them. I would go out of my way to go up and sort of explain what's going on. Not necessarily how it got there, but what we're doing to repair it. So you had a lot of people who are not real happy with conditions, obviously. And you're growing it, and they're not understanding how it got to that and what you're doing to bring it back. So we would try to educate them, and most people were very receptive to that. I mean, they were still upset, but they were really being informed very thoroughly by the management here what to expect and what we're doing to improve that. And when people could see that steady improvement, the comments got more like, hey, wow, it's got a ways to go.
Yeah.
But they could see the movement in the right direction.
Interesting. So 2017, you're building it back. It's car path only. When does the golf course start to look like or show the conditions that you can be proud of?
Spring of 18 is when I would have said that's when I really wanted to get out there and play. So in the beginning, I came here, I was sick to my stomach most days. You're because you're used to maintaining a gorgeous golf course, and now you're trying to get it back to that, but it's nowhere near there. And so all you're just thinking about is everything that you've got to do and the limited resources you have to do it with. But by 2018, I actually wanted to get out there and play. And if I want to get out there and play, then I know we're getting to a pretty decent spot. There were still areas that needed repairs, but that's when it was really a matter of now drawing people back in.
Sure.
And getting, Joe to come over, and then he grabs his buddy Jeff and says, hey, I know you said you'd never go back there.
Sure.
But it's
Turn
gotten
around.
a whole lot better. Let's come on back out and let's give it a shot. So.
Is this an unusually, because it's not a small piece of property. It's not a super walkable course because it kind of meanders through in both directions, the front and the back. But then again, you said you came from General's Ridge, which is kind of similar. That was
similar, but much smaller footprint. I mean, I'd say here from a superintendent standpoint, it took me probably 2 full seasons to realize the logistical complications of this course. I mean, just getting to different areas from where our maintenance facility is to perform the maintenance operations was 2, 3, 4 times as long time-wise as you might normally encounter. I mean, I don't know if you've been to Prince William, but there, if you want to get from the maintenance facility to hole 12, you just go across,
pretty.
10 and 6 and 5, and there you're
Walk
there,
over,
right? So here, just getting materials and equipment out to the course takes a lot more time. So.
When you came in 2016, was there budget allocation conversations that said, listen, if we want to get this place, this is because a big part of this conversation is Lake Presidential is a course that is very well respected. It's in best in state rankings. It's a layout that people love a lot. It's and its proximity to DC. It's one of the best courses that people can play in such a close proximity to the city.
Right. So I mean, when I first took the job, I actually had very lengthy personal meetings with the ownership. So not just the management company that brought me over here, but the owners of the property who developed the land. So we spent hours talking about my plan. We were able to substantially increase the budget. So it's, no superintendent's ever happy with their budget, but it's gotten a whole lot better.
Got it.
It's allowed us to get it back into a condition which might not be quite where we want it, but I would call pretty superior most of the time.
Yeah, so I've only played once this year, but I got out. I'm trying to remember, it was after kind of the pandemic started, so maybe like April. Yeah. Of course, it was in great condition.
Right.
So I think you've done a tremendous job. Let's talk about this year. So 2020 has been an unusual year. I imagine, and we're going to talk to Donny Michael a little bit about this as well, but I imagine rounds are up as they are everywhere. Has that been a challenge from the superintendent's perspective?
Yeah, so it's been great because you get more people on the property seeing it, you get more positive comments, but from a traffic standpoint, now you've got a whole lot more traffic going in the highly concentrated areas. Like everybody else, we had to go to single rider carts. So now if you're instead of doing 200 rounds on 100 carts, you're doing 200 rounds on 200 carts, driving on the fairways and the rough. So it's been a challenge from that standpoint, but it's been nice to see people coming out and enjoy it. I mean, by the time November rolls around, as a superintendent, most of us were just tired of seeing golfers, right? But by the time, no offense, because I'm a golfer, but when next March rolls around, you can't wait to see the people back out there enjoying the golf course. Yeah. So it's been challenging, but it's been really fun on the same token.
So I'm curious now that we're getting into the cold weather season here in the DC area. Winter is upon us. As a superintendent, what do you have? Do you have plans? Do you kick your feet up for the next 3 months, or is this when you really get to work because no one's out there?
Exactly, because I mean, my focus during the season has always been this throughout my career, which is no matter what day of the week you come, you should have the same conditions. So, we don't just take Mondays off from raking bunkers, or we just don't not mow greens on these days. We try to prepare the golf course because the guy who comes on Monday, that may be the first time he's ever seen the course. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to have to say, well, Monday's the day we don't really do much for here, right? You want everybody to have the same experience all the time. So when we get to this time of year, it's our time to actually ramp up. We may not work as much overtime, but the intensity of the work becomes actually greater because all the little projects that you have to do for the improvement, whether it's adding drainage, whether it's, we have some of these gullies and areas that have to be cleared out every year. If you don't get to, you have very limited time to get to those. So we really are trying to bang out our small projects. I
didn't touch on the drainage, and maybe I should have. But like when you came in 2016, like I know the times I play here, like just as an example, I know like 10 fairway. A few times it was closer back then. Right. Had some rough spots as far as drainage. Have you been able to change anything with drainage, or is it more just treating the grass and the soil? A lot of it's treating the soil, because if you can get the right things balanced in the soil and get good root growth, you don't have to put down as much water. So some of what's historically been a problem here, which is just many, many wet areas that are soft and squishy, is a result of not having really healthy turf grass. So now you're trying to baby it through by watering it constantly. And so now these areas just become wet and stay wet. Sure. Whereas if we can allow them to dry down because we've got good root mass, then we can re-wet them and you eliminate a lot of those areas. Clay in and of itself is poorly draining soil, so you're always going to fight some of that. Yeah. But we have pretty decent surface drainage out there. You got a big lake right here in the middle of the course. Does most of the course drain into Lake Presidential? I'd say 2/3 of the course drain, actually a little less than that. Probably just over half, because the back nine predominantly is on the other side, drains into Collington Branch, which is a stream, and is taken off property. But the whole front nine drains into the lake. So you mentioned that you almost got the conditions where you want it. What does that mean for 2021 and beyond? How do you see the future? I see the future as really buttoning up all the little areas. Whether it's, we have a lot of steep banks next to our bunkers. All right, so with trying to concentrate on sort of down the middle tees, greens, and fairways, and having somewhat limited resources still, because it's still a public golf course trying to successfully operate. We've let a few of those areas go, so to speak. So we may not maintain them as often as we would like to. So that's where we're going to raise the budget a little bit. We're going to keep some of those areas that have historically not received as much maintenance as they should, and sort of just now round off the whole conditioning. So, I mean, we've got things pretty good, like I said, down the center. It's now, when you're not quite down the center, that you still have a reasonable playing conditions. Sure. Well, listen, I think, I'm excited to get back out there again. I think the course is in great shape. I think you've done a tremendous job. I think a lot of folks who haven't been out here in maybe since the kind of conditions took a dip back in 2016 will be happy to hear that it's in phenomenal shape again. So great work, and thank you very much for coming on. Thank you very much. Absolutely. I enjoyed it. Donnie Ernakovic. You got it. Excellent. Donnie, pleasure to meet you. So what is your title and role here at Lake Presidential? Official title is Guest Services Manager. Okay. But it's been everything from cart boy to general manager this year, as far as my role. Is Lake Presidential currently without a quote-unquote official general manager? That's correct. Yeah, so you are essentially the acting general manager. Is that fair or no? I don't know if I would say that. More like director of golf. Okay. Shawn has really been the lead guy. He's been here the longest. Yeah. Okay. And has helped out in that regard quite a bit this year. When did you start at Lake Presidential? October 2018. October 2018. And when we first met, when I came in here a couple weeks ago, you said you came over from Eisenhower?
That's correct.
So is that when Eisenhower shut down?
Yes, I think it was September 2018, closed
Okay.
for renovations.
Yep.
And I was really planning on taking the winter off. And my manager over there got a job here, called me up one day, said, why don't you come over here and work? And, my winter off turned into about 3 or 4 weeks off. And
Okay.
stopped
How
in.
long were you at Eisenhower?
Since the spring of 2016. So
Yeah,
2.5 years, I believe.
Interesting. You excited for that reopening?
Yeah. Yeah.
Should be good.
It's a great track.
Yeah. Interesting to see what they're doing over there. I know they're turning into a bunk. They made it a bunkerless.
Bunkerless, yeah.
Yeah. So that's I'm excited. I know it's been 2 years closing. I know a lot of folks are excited to get open.
Yeah, I think they were planning on reopening this year, but the pandemic and some stream work and other logistical nightmares.
So what is your kind of history and background in golf? You had mentioned that you'd also done some time out in Rehoboth.
That's right. The first golf course I worked at was Majestic Ridge in South Central PA.
Okay.
Back in late 80s, early 90s. Just a summer job. I think that course is now closed. I got my degree in environmental science, traveled the country doing soil cleanup for a while, bounced around, had my own construction business, moved to Delaware, be closer to my family, and my construction business was taking a hit because I was spending too much time playing golf.
Okay.
So the jobs weren't getting done, the bills were piling up. One day I just basically locked the doors and got a job working maintenance at Rehoboth Country Club.
Interesting. Working maintenance.
Yep.
Okay.
And worked there for a number of years, learned a lot about the industry, and in that time I started going to Del Tech Community College for turf grass management. Played on the golf team there.
Okay. I looked up. I did a little Google search on you, and most of what came up was like really low scores in regional tournaments.
No, I don't think so.
No, I
do not think so.
So yeah, but you're a player. You got into the golf business because of a passion for the game. Is that fair?
That's correct. Yeah.
Do you still get to play quite a bit?
I do, but I don't. I can, but I don't. Last time I played was first week in September.
Got it. Okay.
And I actually played over at the beach.
Oh, interesting.
I've had wrist trouble,
Uh-huh.
which makes it hard and painful to swing a golf club.
Yeah.
So, taking a little time off.
Had you played Lake Presidential much before you came over here?
The first time, I played it a few times. The first time I played it, it was a Billy Casper course. Eisenhower was a Billy Casper course.
Okay.
So we got playing privileges.
Yep.
And July 4th, 2016 was the first time I played here. And it was a wet, rainy day. I was the only one out here. And I was like, wow, this course is legit. This place is nice. Conditions were still okay. I came out a month.
You said July 2016?
That's correct.
Okay.
July 4th, yeah. I came out a month or two later and couldn't believe how far it had fallen. And just huge patches of turf. You'd take your foot, wipe it across the grass.
So that was really the period when it dropped, was
Yeah.
kind of the summer of 2016. Okay.
Yeah. And like Shawn said, like you said, this place was unplayable for a while. I could come over here whenever I want, play for free, and didn't want to.
Right.
When I came here in 2018, now I did play a couple times here and there, and saw a marked improvement, especially in 2018. And then when I started here in the fall, into the spring, it was a completely different course. It was nice. It was still, 19 was still a little rough, some areas, but just a difference between last year and this year.
You said 19 was?
It wasn't there were still some bad areas. I mean, it
okay.
was still on the way back.
You mean a whole 19?
2019.
Oh, 2019. You said 19. I was like, oh, what? You have 19 holes here? What?
No,
2000,
no. Rehoboth Country Club. That's actually a great idea for courses to have 19 holes. That way you can close one at any time, work on it, and still have 18 holes for the golf.
Oh, that's a good idea. I thought you were going to say to have a practice hole, but to have so there's always a hole you can work on. Yeah. That is a good idea. Interesting. There's a course down in, I'm sure there's a bunch of these, but there's a course in Virginia, in Locust Grove, called Meadow Farms. I don't know if you've ever been to that one. It's kind of a goofy course. They got 3 9s, but one of them's a par 6. They've got like a waterfall one. It's kind of a funny place, but they've got a full par 4 practice hole, so you can warm up on a hole before you start.
Sweet.
In any case, so back to sorry for the tangent.
That's all right. So 2019, there was much better, but just the difference between then and now is night and day. Even with the big number of rounds we put out here and the traffic, it's like we say, the apology tour is over out here as far as apologizing for the conditions. This place is nice.
So how long have you been de facto acting general manager?
Oh, for most of the year. Shawn was really the acting GM.
Okay.
In the early part of the year.
Are you privy to? I'm curious. Like in that time period, like when the course kind of took a hit in conditions, 2016 to 2017, how that affected number of rounds played and that sort of thing?
Oh, sure, and it was they dropped off dramatically. I'm not quite sure what they were doing prior to that, but this year we're going to do double the rounds we did in probably 2017. I don't have the exact numbers.
Yeah,
but.
What about compared to 2019? Just because 2020, obviously, rounds are up everywhere.
Sure.
Have they gone up significantly even since last year?
Yeah. Up a third.
Interesting.
And that's losing 7 weeks.
Yeah. One of the interesting things going on here, and really just to be quite transparent about it, why I came out was I saw that Lake Presidential was getting ready to change hands. It was up for sale. When I came in here, I was told that the sale of the course was really totally unrelated to what was going on in 2016 and 2017. Can you talk about that at all?
I don't honestly know much about it. From what I understand, ownership always had a desire to develop this property and sell the golf course. And the property has been developed. All the home sites have been sold, I believe.
So that was the plan from day one before they ever moved any dirt. Was once we'll build the golf course, we'll start building development. Once the development is done, no matter how long it takes, we're out of the golf business.
Right.
So, I think a lot of folks, when they saw that it was up for sale, they immediately tied it back to maybe some down years in 2016, 2017. But that's
I don't believe.
Yeah,
I don't believe.
Interesting. No news yet as far as any kind of new ownership. That's still all happening. Sticking here in 2020, we talked to Shawn a little bit about just some of the challenges with almost. Is there such thing as having too many rounds?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Running a golf course, do you do anything about that? I mean, you're not turning people away. Are you?
We've had to. There have been a number of days this year. People have called, "Hey, when's your next tee time?" And this will be on a Friday, and we'll tell them Tuesday.
Sure.
It's not necessarily turning them away, not blocking the tee sheet because there's too many golfers. We have had to block the tee sheet because we don't have enough carts.
Yeah.
With the number of people taking single rider carts, and because this is not really a walkable course.
Right.
We've had to space out our tee times more and essentially reduce the inventory that we have every day to sell.
Do you get many people walking, like ever?
A few here and there.
A few.
I've walked this course one time, just to say that I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be a hike. Do you have your step counter out when you were doing it?
I did. I don't remember what it was, Honestly, if you're out here playing car path only, you're going to walk a lot of miles. This is not an easy course to get around on. That's really one of the biggest challenges, is trying to push so many rounds through this place on such a difficult golf course and difficult piece of terrain to navigate.
What is your take, as kind of a golfer first? You got into this industry because you're a golf fanatic. You're clearly a good golfer. Are you? What is your? You said the first time you came out here, you were kind of wowed by the layout. Is golf courses? What's your take on golf courses that really aren't walkable? There is a kind of a trend in golf course architecture and new builds that a lot of them seem to be going in that direction of being more walkable. Do you think that Lake Presidential? I don't know where I'm going. Could it ever be more walkable? Is there anything that could be adapted, or kind of is what it is?
Oh, you'd have to really change things around to make it more walkable. The front nine's not bad out here. The back nine, a lot of steep ups and downs. The commute from 17 green to 18 tee over to the tee box and then back around the lake.
Right.
That really
I need to add a bridge.
Takes walking. Yeah, exactly. So now a bridge, 120-yard bridge across the water, that's a sizable investment. Just add some walkers. A lot of these holes, it seems like you hit your ball, there isn't just a straight walking shot to where it comes. You're going around a ravine, around a pond, down and up a hill.
Do you know much about? It's interesting. I looked up. I know you've only been here since 2018, but I was trying. When you look up the course designer or golf course architect of Lake Presidential, it says two guys. I wrote about Jeff Potts and Chris Cole of Landmark Golf Design. Right. I spent way too much time on the internet last night trying to research those guys and Landmark Golf Design. Are they even in business anymore?
Landmark is in business. Okay. Sure. I believe they own and manage Kiowa, South Carolina.
I saw that. I didn't realize they still did. Okay.
And a number of courses out west. Last time I looked them up, I think that most of their courses were in California and that. But you'll see the tree. It's still the tree logo.
Which I didn't realize. So the original tree logo of Lake Presidential was the first time I ever saw that. My first inclination was, oh, that looks like the tree from Kiowa. Right. But I never actually realized that they were connected.
It's actually the tree from Landmark.
Okay.
So all of Landmark's property have that tree.
Oh, so and Landmark was not the developer of Kiowa. They came in some time and maybe changed the logo down there as well.
I don't know.
I did see that Chris Cole. I don't know anything about him. I just learned this last night that he used to be the director of golf at Kiowa, and was even the director of the 1991 Ryder Cup, the War by the Shore. And his name is listed as the designer here, or one of the two designers here at Lake Presidential. But beyond that, I couldn't find anything about him kind of recently or currently.
I have no idea about Landmark, really. I mean, I was surprised when I looked him up, because I always thought that tree was Kiowa.
That's interesting. And
I saw it and I was like, wow, it looks like all of Landmark's property.
Do you ever get people asking? Golf course architecture is also kind of in vogue, and people really studying golf course architecture and all on social media. Kind of golden age this and studying all the great architects. Do you get people in here ever asking about those guys?
Sure. Sure. Like, who developed this course?
Yeah.
Now, this is before my time, and really don't have a lot of information on it. But apparently, Greg Norman had a big hand in laying this course out.
Really?
And I don't know what happened between Landmark and Greg Norman, if it was just a little consulting gig or what, but you don't find Norman's name anywhere on this property, which I probably would have if I had him around. I would probably have his name attached to it some way.
Shark logo somewhere.
But I'm sure that there's a business reason for that.
Sure.
I'm not privy to.
Yeah, interesting. But let's talk about the course for a minute, because I love the layout. It's got a lot of unique features on it, that you don't necessarily see everywhere. But it's the front nine. You've got especially number 8. Number 8's a fantastic hole, but you got a peninsula green that juts out into the lake, and then you come right back at number 9, and you've got a forced carry over the lake. So you kind of get two holes in a row that bring the lake into play. But I think the unique one that you don't see too much, certainly around here, is the green complex around 11.
Oh, right, the elevated green.
So one thing I was looking up, I was reading a couple different things. I saw in different articles, number 11 green referred to as a crown green, a volcano green, a turtleback green, a birthday cake green.
Never heard birthday cake. Birthday cake.
I hadn't heard that one either. How do you guys refer to that one?
I've always just called it an elevated green. I know 4 is a good score on that hole. It's not a long hole, but just hitting that green and 2-putting and walking away with the 4 is a good score. I know that presents more challenges for Shawn and his team from a maintenance standpoint, having that closely mown bent grass the whole way around it. Mm-hmm. But it's a good hole, tough hole.
So Lake Presidential is currently managed by Troon. Mm-hmm. When did that change happen? Was that since you were here?
That
Billy
was
Casper to Troon?
February 2019 they took over.
They took over management of the 3 golf courses in D.C. Mm-hmm. I know they also manage Potomac Shores and Dumfries. Any other courses in the area, do you know?
Lansdowne.
Lansdowne, okay.
So in this area, that's the main ones. Over at the beach, there's Bear Trap, there's Bayside.
Okay.
I mean, Troon's the largest golf management company in the world.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, and you probably can't say too much of this, but I'm curious what the reaction was, even with the staff here. When the general public, I know I shared this on Instagram, but I think the general golfing public in the area was surprised when they saw the sale price of the property. I think it was listed at 1.75, which, again, I've never purchased a golf course. I don't know I don't know what golf courses go for, but doing some research, I know a lot of times they go for more than that. This is a tremendous property with such proximity to DC. Was the staff surprised by that seemingly low price tag, or what do you?
I think we all were a little bit, certainly. I think it goes to show just how difficult it is to make it in this industry. It's very competitive. It's hard to make a nickel in the golf business.
Yeah, I imagine with that price tag, there must be a lot. There must be some activity. There's There's going to be a new owner here in 2020. Do you have any idea of the timeline?
None.
No. We're excited for it. I guess my last question: have you heard anything? Is there any there's no stipulations in any kind of sale that it has to remain public, or is there? No.
Haven't heard anything.
Yeah. So we all hope. We've lost a lot of public courses in this area in recent years. 2020 has seen a massive uptick in interest in golf and rounds played. So, it would be a shame. Whoever's buying this course, it would be a shame, for the public golfers out there. We certainly hope the public can continue to play it.
I would hope so. I mean, this is a great piece of property. It's a challenge to all golfers. I don't care how good you are, but it's also been designed in such a way that moving up in the tees still presents a fun, enjoyable, not so dumbed down, if you will. My wife will come out here and play, and she likes it. So many courses she'll go to, the guys play the par 3s over the water, and it's nice, and then the ladies' tee is moved around the corner, and it's just some stupid 89-yard shot.
Do you host a lot of tournaments out here?
Not that many, but a few. We had the Peggy Bell girls tour.
Okay.
Some fabulous golfers came out here this year. I hope to see them again. Golf Week, Golf Channel, they've held things here. There's a couple planned for the upcoming year. This year was difficult for tournaments.
Yeah. What about, I imagine, and sorry, I'm kind of all over the place with some of my questions here, but I know that a lot of money was put into this facility that we're sitting in here. 2020, it's a shame 2020, I imagine it's not getting any use.
No, you know, it's really with the regulations, and also ownership wanted to proceed with caution.
Sure.
Didn't want to be part of the problem.
Yeah.
So we shut down all banquet, restaurant options, and yeah, just trying to keep everybody safe.
Does the Lake Presidential Golf Course, so this is a development within the Beech Tree community, beyond the fact that the developers, it was the same developers that developed the entire property, is there much of a relationship between the golf course and the homeowners in the residential community?
There's some. Certainly a lot of our members are from the community.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see more of a relationship, but you know, there's 1,500 homes here. There's a lot of potential customers, a lot of potential golfers there.
Do you have any thoughts on, it's interesting, when I talked to a couple buddies when we saw the price tag for Lake Presidential, and you know, it's almost like every diehard golfer, their first reaction is like, I should buy it.
Right.
Like let's get our money together. You know, we can afford that. That's the cost of our houses put together, or something like that.
Exactly.
There are a lot of golf courses around here. What are your thoughts about, you know, there's certainly a lot less golf courses in PG County compared to, say, Montgomery County, compared to, say, Fairfax County. But you know, is there a sustainable golf community, you know, around Lake Presidential, or does it really have to rely on people coming from elsewhere?
I think there is. This is certainly, it's not necessarily a destination course, but people will travel to play this. This isn't your local muni course. So we are drawing from a larger radius. But, you know, I don't care what county you're in. I think it's difficult to run a profitable golf course.
Yeah. Is the difficulty in running a profitable golf course? Obviously, there's a million different factors, and most of which I have no clue about. But is a big piece of that trying to weigh the balance between allocating funds towards the golf course and playing golf versus food and beverage and a massive facility like this?
Obviously, the facility like this it's way more. When I was working at Eisenhower, we were working out of a trailer. It was a golf course. We had food options, but it was a hot dog roller, getting people in, getting people out.
I guess my question: do you think that's easier? Like in Eisenhower, if you have to worry less about F&B and making sure that you're making the most of every square foot and keeping the food and the beverage and all that stock, is it easier for a golf course to turn a profit when it's just golf? Or am I wrong?
Well, I think the food and beverage, that's sort of out of my realm. I know, you know, good years restaurants close all the time because
Sure.
they can't make it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's difficult. What you can't have is, you know, part of your equation that just torpedoes everything.
Yeah, right.
It's been incredibly difficult to maintain this facility and not have any income coming in from it.
Yeah, right.
But, you know, it's been a tough year for everybody.
Yeah, no doubt.
We're fortunate that we've had the play, that we've had the conditions, and that we've all, you know, still got our jobs and our health.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A lot of people out there don't. Well, listen, Donnie, thank you very much. I know I've asked you some questions that are kind of out of your scope, and I appreciate you being willing to answer them and setting this up with the team here. I'm a huge fan of Lake Presidential. I hope the new owners keep it public so I can come out and play, and my buddies can keep coming out and play. But I think you guys are doing a great job out here, and certainly encourage anybody listening to come out and play.
Really appreciate you coming out.
Absolutely. Thank you, Donnie.
Thanks.
Mike Chiadis, how are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Good. So tell us, give us a quick high level. What's your role here at Lake Presidential?
I am retail and guest services supervisor. So basically, I work in the pro shop, but I also do the ordering for merchandise. I'm in charge of the pro shop guys a little bit. for any of the hideous shirts you see out there next year, you can blame me for that. Yeah, so that's basically my role here.
One of the things I was going to ask. So well, first off, so how long you been at Lake Presidential?
I've been here a little bit over a year. Yeah,
Over a year.
I was at Glendale before that. So obviously, right when Glendale closed, I came over here. But I was over at Glendale for close to 3 years. Yeah.
You know, it's funny. So I looked you up as well, and I saw that you worked at Glendale, and I was like, awesome. I want to ask him a bunch of questions at Glendale. And I've seen you in here, but it wasn't until you just said that, and now I'm looking at you. It was like, oh, I totally remember you. Like, you checked me in at Glendale several times.
Yeah, I'm sure. I have.
So let's start there. I mean, R.I.P. Glendale.
Oh my God, I hate even thinking about it. Like, I drive by there. I still go see the people that live there, and it's just it's basically looks like a cornfield now. The grass is just overgrown, and it's just a shame because that place was just special. I mean, if you hadn't played there, you'll never understand, obviously. But if you play there, you just understand. It's just special for some reason. It's a tiny little track, and it's not too hard, but it can punish you. But yeah, I miss it every day. It was a great track.
So development has not started over there. So Glendale sold to some housing developers, right?
Yeah, it has started. They've torn down the clubhouse, the cart barn. It's officially started.
They've torn down the clubhouse.
Yeah, it's
no more
hard.
black hole pub.
No, unfortunately not. It is long gone.
Can we get that sign over Lake Presidential? Is that possible?
I don't think Johnny Shields would appreciate that very much. I think he's probably got that in his backyard. Glendale. It's funny. I only really played the first time I ever played Glendale was kind of late. Like I grew up in Montgomery County, but lived in this area most of my life. But only played Glendale for the first time, I want to say maybe 2015 or something. So only got to play it a handful of times. But the one thing that was so obvious about it was the community around it. Yeah.
Like you whether you was going down to the pub or like kind of the patio out back or just kind of around the area up by the first tee, is that everyone seemed to be friends. And I actually went out there and took some pictures of that closing day when they were shooting off streams and that kind of stuff, and there was kind of a big party. So
there will never be anything like it. It was so special. It's like, I mean, I started playing there in 2015 as a member, or 2016, and you just feel like family right away.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. It's the least corporate golf course. It was run by a family.
Yeah. That leaves a big hole kind of in the golfing landscape, certainly in PG County. And Lake Presidential is, it's a very different golf course. It's a different environment, different price point, different layout. A lot of things different. But have you seen a lot of that? In PG County, I would almost think that more comparable course as far as playability is probably more like Enterprise.
Yeah. I mean, Bowie.
But have you seen Bowie? Yeah, Bowie too.
I mean, I still see plenty of people that come in here, familiar faces from Glendale. We had a couple members come over here to join, and I see, at least 3 or 4 people a week. I'm like, hey, how you doing? They remember me from Glendale. I remember seeing them, checking in, and we've definitely seen a lot of those people. But I think, like you said, it's a different price point. It's a different course. Enterprise and Bowie probably got most of that business. A big group of the players from Glendale joined over at Woodmore. So yeah, it's definitely a different price point. But we've seen an uptick because of the closures, for sure.
I would imagine. I've heard Enterprise. Enterprise was already kind of had a little bit of a reputation for not the fastest rounds, especially on the weekends. But I imagine since Glendale closed and all those golfers trying to find a new place to play.
Well, Enterprise, I mean, since it's a county course, I don't think they're allowed to do. I think they space out their tee times at 15 minutes, so they're not putting nearly as many people out there now, just because it's a county course.
Because of 2020 regulations.
Because of the regulations. So.
Oh wow. Where are you originally from?
I am originally from Pennsylvania, about an hour north of Philadelphia, Lehigh Valley, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I grew up there, spent the first 22 years of my life there, and moved down here around 2014.
One of the reasons I brought this up was, part of I keep alluding to my internet snooping. Is there and I didn't bring this up with Donnie, but is there some kind of Philadelphia Flyers connection? Did I see that somewhere? I don't know where I saw that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm a big Flyers fan. Same with Donnie. So most of the time when you come in here in the winter, you'll see us with our Flyers masks on, and Yeah, we're big Flyers fans despite being in this Capitals territory.
I was saying, I know a lot of the Caps are big golfers. You ever seen any of them out here?
Yeah, Peter Bonder plays out here quite
yeah?
a bit. I haven't seen any of the any current Caps players play though. Maybe we have to get them out here.
Yeah, interesting. So how did you? So you're relatively young. Was Glendale your first golf job? Or?
Yeah. I went to school for finance, financial planning. That was my whole plan in life, and decided a desk job, 9 to 5, was not for me. Kind of bounced around a little bit, and I was a member over at Glendale, and they needed someone to work behind the counter, and I said, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Play some free golf, and I kind of fell in love with it. I got into this industry because I love golf. I like to play a lot, and everyone always told me, if you want to play a lot of golf, don't get in the golf industry.
Right.
And that has turned out to be true, because I just barely play anymore. It's crazy.
Right.
It's just, you just don't have time.
Noted for anybody listening. If
Yeah. For sure.
So you say you kind of run, you run a lot of the operations around the pro shop?
Yeah, I do most of the ordering for, so for next year, all the stuff you see in the pro shop, I pretty much ordered most of that stuff. Which is, it's new to me. I didn't do that at Glendale. So, I've only been in this industry 3 or 4 years, but it's a grind, but I really like it.
One of the things I was going to ask, I meant to ask Donnie, but maybe Lake Presidential, they did, but this is related to apparel. They did a logo change.
Yeah.
Was that, how long ago was that? Do you know?
2018 or 19, I would say.
So they switched from the tree to kind of what is an eagle?
The eagle logo, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Was that a Troon initiative?
No, I think it was. I honestly don't know why it happened, but I think Landmark was no longer affiliated with the property, so they, we couldn't use that tree logo anymore, so they had to come up with something new. And we've got eagles out here pretty much every morning. You can see an eagle out here on the top of that tree.
Sure.
So that's why the eagle logo came about.
When you are in charge of ordering in a pro shop and outfitting it for all the different hats and the belts and the bags and all the different stuff, is that something that comes through Troon, or do you have much say in kind of the types of things you buy?
I mean, I have pretty much free reign, honestly. You get the reps coming in, the Footwear reps, the Adidas reps. You see what they have. They bring in their truck and show you what shirts and hats they have, and I kind of pick out what I think, not necessarily what I'd wear, but what I think would sell.
So is that how the price? It's mostly the local reps, the regional reps that are representing X, Y, and Z company. Usually, from what I know, most of them represent a handful.
Yeah, they like a Footwear, they'll handle the mid-Atlantic region for the most part. So they're all the way up from.
But a lot of times, aren't the reps like the Footwear rep? I mean, maybe not Footwear because that's such a massive, prominent company, but a lot of them will represent
a few
multiple companies.
Yeah,
right?
A few of them. Yeah, like the Greg Norman. He's also the rep, like Zero Friction Glove, and there's not a whole lot of overlap, but there's some.
Have you ever gone outside of that? One of the things I'm kind of getting at is, the golf apparel business also seems to be changing a lot, in part because of social media and like a lot of smaller companies, upstart brands starting out of their garage. I mean, heck, I got some Beltway golfer gear in my car, but like these upstarts that are maybe still way too small to have reps on the street. Do you ever consider going that route, or have you ever?
I definitely would. I mean, Troon has some, we have to have, 50% of this, 50% of that, 20% of that. So there are some restrictions that I have, but we carry some Category 4 stuff. They make golf grips. So we have Maryland flag golf grips and USA flag golf grips, which is just a small company that started over here in Bowie. Yeah. So we've definitely been looking into that, you got the Jones golf bags, stuff like that we might look into. But I think that's definitely a growing niche because there's definitely a demand for it now.
Oh yeah, I mean you go online, especially like I spend most of my time on Instagram as far as social media accounts are concerned. But yeah, there's like new companies popping up every day, and some of the stuff is really cool.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's
really
so
awesome.
Innovative and a lot more fresh than.
And so buying apparel or golf bags with like the traditional big name companies is kind of going out of vogue.
A little bit, yeah, and it's tough because, especially with golf balls, you can't compete with the Golf Galaxy, the Dicks of the world,
Sure.
just because of their pricing. I mean, they're
Right.
buying pallets at a time, and they're getting way better prices than a golf shop is. You know, it's changed a lot. You know, golf. You used to go to your local pro shop to buy clubs probably.
Yeah.
Now, we don't carry clubs. It's
Right.
just not worth it to carry them in stock. You know, because they're just going to sit in your shop. Maybe someone will come demo it. I'm going to go on Amazon or Golf Galaxy and just get it for cheaper.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough for sure, but we've made do, I think.
What about 2020? I'm sure there's less people actually coming into the pro shop because of all the restrictions.
When we first reopened, it was pretty much year in, year out. We had the pro shop pretty much closed. If you needed balls, you get. It's open now a little bit, and
Yeah.
it's we've done really well. I mean, it's been a good year. Golf ball sales are way up because you got a lot of new golfers in the industry. I heard that for a while Dick's was completely sold out of starter sets because
I believe
of all the new golfers, and I think that's really good for the industry going forward. I don't think it's just a pandemic thing. I mean, the pandemic caused it, but
Sure.
I think there's going to be some serious carryover once this whole thing is over.
Which I think is interesting because I put a post up a while ago. I was kind of tracking all of the courses kind of in the greater DC area that had closed over the past 10 years. And it's a lot. And some of that was kind of, I don't know what the proper term is, but kind of the correction after the huge bump in the Tiger Woods era that maybe they overdeveloped, built way too many golf courses, and this was just a correction. But now you see so many more people playing golf that, I mean, I run a damn Beltway golfer website and I can't get a tee time.
Exactly. Seriously, if you want a tee time on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even Thursdays, you better make a tee time at least 5 to 7 days in advance. It's crazy.
Right.
So I don't know if we'll see. The market's pretty smart. I don't know if we'll see more golf courses being built, but I would hope you'd see fewer closing.
Yeah. Has there any other conversations here? Because Lake Presidential, it's not. I wouldn't say it's like a super hard track, but it's not an easy course. There's a lot of force carries.
Yeah. It's definitely. I think it's one of the hardest tracks in the area, especially if you're playing the blue.
Certainly for a beginner, if you can't get the ball up in the air.
If you're a beginner, can't get it up in the air, there's no harder track.
Right.
I mean, 5 and 15 are some of the hardest holes in the area, and I think the stretch of 5 to 9 is the hardest stretch in the area. I call it the gauntlet. I think it's a
5 is the par 4 that kind of bends left.
Yeah, hard. I mean, if you're not on the right side of the fairway, you're blocked out.
Yeah, and I always cut it too much and end up in the trees, and I'm on the green in 4. Yeah, that one. Okay.
6 has that massive greenside bunker. I mean, you can't miss left there. 7, you can't miss right. 8, the tee shot, you got water all the way up the right side. And then
6
9
is beautiful. I love 6. 7 always kills me. That is a really tough hole.
Yeah, that's actually the hardest handicap hole.
Yeah.
Most people think it's 5 or 15. It's 7.
Yeah. But have you had any, a lot of courses, they'll maybe have family tees or beginner tees, any conversations like that when you start seeing so many new people getting into golf?
I think we definitely need to do that. I mean, one of the people that was brought over here after Glenda closed was Troy Beck, who was, one of the most well-known junior golf instructors in the area. Mm-hmm. And she came over here, brought her camps over here. We definitely need, there's definitely going to be a push for a family tee, just to make it more playable, so you're not forced to carry over all these long carries.
Yeah, interesting. Well, it's in beautiful shape here. All right, man. Well, cool. Well, congratulations on being able to land another gig right down the street. And staying in the golf industry. That's super cool. And Lake Presidential is it's a fantastic place to land. I'm sure it's been a challenging year, but
yeah, it's been fun. It's been hard. It's been a grind, but it's been good. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'm the curse. If I start working on a course, it goes up for sale. So fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But we'll see what happens. I hope it's the same type of course it is this year. Hopefully, it's the same next year.
Yeah, no doubt. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much, Mike. Pleasure to meet you, and best of luck.
Alex. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
I don't have a good golf game. but I don't really care. I'm a regular dude living in DC, and I want to know about DC-centric golf stuff. If you can tell me something that I don't already know, then that is great for me. I don't want the regular stuff. I want exciting stuff. I want different stuff. I want stuff I can't hear elsewhere. But I want it to be about DC golf.